personal issues. Antonio Brown has apparently left training
What a
camp.
guy! What a
What a
guy!
guy. Has apparently left training camp once again because of this helmet issue. So the NFL said his helmet was like it couldn't be inspected because it was over 10 years old. So they told him, if you can find a helmet that is just made, it's just newer, like within the 10-year range, it's the same helmet but it's just newer, we can put it through the test, and if it passed the test, you can use it. So he found the helmet, sent it in. Apparently it did not pass the test, so they're not telling him he cannot use it. And he left training camp. The Raiders know about this. The Raiders were public about it. Their GM came out and said a couple things on it. Joey, I'm gonna start with you, bro. Thoughts on this Antonio Brown deal? And like, the GM wasn't so cool this time.
The thing about it is I feel like the GM was absolutely amazing about it, because he gave the best answer to basically say, shut the fuck up and either get into camp, stop your fucking bitching, or quit. He said it the nicest way possible. He said, look, we support you, AB. We appreciate the fact that you're passionate about it. We've exhausted all avenues, but now it's time you're either all in or all out. He's basically laying it out for you. We understand, we've supported you, but the league is basically saying, this is our ruling. So they're saying, shut up and either come into camp or quit. That simple.
Fair enough. Stevie, thoughts?
No, I kind of agree too. Like I said, like, you're grinding through training camp, you're going through preseason and everything. Like, you gotta know like how the team's gonna move on. Especially like, we're 3 weeks away from the season now. Like, you have to prepare for the season. If he's really skipping out on training camp and everything, like, as stupid as the reason it was with the helmet and everything, like, he missed time because of the fucking cryo, no shoe, or bad shoe incident, which is disgusting if you saw the pictures on Instagram. Now he's missing time because he's being just an absolute bitch for the whole helmet thing and everything, which I think they said it affected like the only 32 players in the NFL, but like, it was Tom Brady and a couple other big names too, and they're dealing with it just fine. Like, and I know he tried to like send his helmet into the regulation, like people who make the regulations, and try to get it approved. Like his new helmet, they said it was literally the exact same thing he was wearing the last like 10 years or whatever. I think at that point, get over it. Like, if everyone's like appeasing to the rules, like, you have to be one too, especially when the team's depending on you. Like, it's another thing like that. Like, if you love the game of football and you want to play and like you're devoted to your team and the sport you're in, like, just like conform to the rules, conform to what you need to do, and like just grow the fuck up and play. That's really it.
Yeah, no, I go ahead, Joey.
I mean, my thing is that, I mean, looking at it from fantasy wise, like, I'm not on full fade AB. I probably won't pick him in most of my drafts. However, I just feel like if AB reports, the one thing that he has in his favor is game script. The Raiders are always going to be behind. So they're always going to be getting tons of garbage time production. So that's where he's going to get his numbers.
So I was saying before to you guys too, like, I've been doing a lot of best balls, and I think now he's I guess ADP is around like 24, and he's wide receiver like 8 or 9. I think the only guys I said behind him that were mentionable were like Thielen, T.Y. Hilton, like Keenan Allen. Then you got like smaller guys behind him like Diggs, Amari Cooper, like some of those guys. Like, if he's around there, like, do you believe he should be drafted behind all those guys ahead of him in like best ball leagues where you have to really think about the season long?
I think that he is like wide receiver probably 10 or 11 for me right now. There's not very many. I maybe probably closer to 8. I don't know. I there's a lot of guys you could name off guys, and I'll tell you where I would stop and I would put him. I would probably right around where Mike Evans is where I would probably take Antonio Brown, like right around that range, because everybody else behind him is not. There's question marks on everybody else behind him, so I'd rather take the highest upside in AB. But guys like Odell, Michael Thomas, Julio, Hopkins, those are the Adams. Those are the receivers that you want. Tyreek Hill. Those are the top receivers right now, and then AB is below them. He has to prove it. He's not a top tier receiver right now.
Yeah, I
agree with you.
I think. And so I'm curious to see how this whole thing like affects his draft stock in general. his ownership in DFS, his ADP and fantasy leagues, everything. Because at the end of the day, like Joe said, when you look at this Raiders offense, they pretty much bet everything on him, right? Gruden is betting on Antonio Brown. Like, there's not a ton of help. They don't have Jared Cook anymore. There's just like I think Jordy Nelson retired or something like that. I don't even know. But not that he was great anyway. But like Carr is going to be relying heavily on Antonio Brown. That this is all about Antonio Brown. So if you take the head case out of it, he's in one of the best situations. He's like Joe said, his team is going to be trailing a lot, most likely, and they're just going to throw a ton. We know Gruden is a big quarterback guy, and he went out and got himself like a toy for his quarterback in Antonio Brown. So I think that the targets will definitely be there. They're going to try to build a game plan. It's just a matter of, can like Antonio Brown keep his shit together? If he loses his shit and just walks off the field in fucking week 3 and you drafted him, like you're just fucking angry. But like that's the other part of the equation is how motivated Antonio Brown going to be if his team is not competitive come week 8, week 9? What if they start the season and they're like fucking 3-5, 3-6? Is Antonio Brown going to just quit and say, hey, we ain't winning anyway? I'm not trying to get hurt with this bullshit. I don't have my helmet. So even if you take out the crazy nonsense, I think like Antonio Brown makes a lot of sense. But when you when you keen into like, okay, well, he is a kind of a nutcase, like how much of that are you willing to let affect your opinion of him? I mean, it is a big deal, right? Like last year, if you drafted Le'Veon Bell with the number 1 or 2 or 3 overall pick, you got fucked hard, raw dog style. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's for sure.
So
the whole like holdout situation, I understand that for the most part. Like, especially with these rookie deals and like running backs getting devalued now, or like we see so much talent between them, like Zeke, Melvin Gordon this year too, like Le'Veon Bell last year. Like there's some of those like talented, like not just athletes, but like NFL players we've seen in terms of the position. But it's not like it's not a holdout for him. He just got paid. Like he got a nice deal. He's just being a baby about the helmet. Like I think that's when if you want to protest the holdout, do I agree with it? No, but I can kind of understand because like a few years from now, I think it's gonna be like you're seeing higher paid quarterbacks compared to like these running back deals. So that's one thing. But when you're sitting out because of a helmet, you're losing time because of a fucking foot problem after cryo, like that's too extreme. Like the foot, I get because that's like the actual injury, but for you to miss time because of your helmet is one big extreme. I think it's like realize your what you're doing is your job too. Not only are you getting paid for it, like you're making you got $50 million for your 4 years now, 3 years, whatever it is. Like that's your job. You're getting paid for it. And if you're doing the sport, you should love it. Like most people, and anyone who has a heart like would die to be in his position with that much talent and everything. Like, just step up, play.
fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, AB's schedule in the beginning of the year though is pretty nice, and then it gets tough at the end. So they're going to be behind in a lot of these games at the beginning of the season. So you got to think he's going to be really, really productive. If he plays. I'm just not taking that risk, especially at his price in fantasy at second round. I'm just not taking it.
Yeah. Well, you also had in the back of your mind, if Antonio Brown kind of fell in your lap and like a later with like a later pick, you also like Joe, you had mentioned at the beginning of the season, if he does, assuming he does play, which I think he will, like you said, he got his money, he's gonna play. So assuming he does play, you got to figure like you're going to get his best effort, even if they suck this year. You're going to get his best effort for like the first like 6-7 weeks. So say he balls out the first couple games, even though the Raiders are losing, he balls out the first like few games. You would not have the potential draft stock. You might be able to find somebody in your league who's like super high in AB, and you may decide to back down a little bit. Like because as soon as the Raiders record goes to shit, they're going to back off AB, or AB is not going to want to play anymore, and kind of like you could probably get something pretty solid for him at that point. So there's always that's something to consider as well.